Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Ohana Packers Edition podcast. We are Ope. I am Iowa Joe. My Quano's not here. He had a last minute family situation, so we wanted to get this episode out where we predict our 53-man roster. So I've got my list. I've got Mike's list. We're going to go over both of them. Hopefully, this won't be a too long episode, just long enough that we can get it out there and get our rosters into the metasphere. Uh, I do want to start out by saying that uh, these are just what we think, and obviously there's some things that are going to happen that are going to change this, like trades, waiver claims, anything like that. So I know Mike has denoted on a couple of his that there could be possibilities for outside. So just uh, a caveat for this that we're just going by what's on the roster right now. Again, trades could happen. Um, Waiver claims, such and such could happen. So we're just going by what is currently on the roster. With that being said, a little bit of news. They did show off the new uh, rivalry uniforms, as they call them, and you know I like the green. I like the throwback of the Lombardi era Packers emblem, the intertwined GBP. I just, for some reason, when it comes to clothing, I don't like the color white in it, and this white just is really weird. And then the font, uh, I understand what they were trying to do with it. They tried incorporating the stock, the owner stocks into the uniforms, and I don't know. I think there's other ways they could have went. They could have went like last year's draft cap and tried to do a little bit of like a bicycle thing in there, something community wise. They could have done the fence, the painted fences that are up all over the place, especially the one across from Lambeau Field. I think they could have incorporated that. It makes it feel like that they're just more worried about the money than they are the money aspect of it than they are the actual fan aspect of it. So, like I said, I like the green. I do like uh the emblem. I'm not sold on the white. I know that if you zoom in you can see the little streaks through or the little hash marks or whatever you want to call them through the white, so it does give it a little bit better. But that's my idea. I'm not going to poo poo it. I'm not going to say it's stupid or anything like that. It's just not my cup of tea quite in reality, but more power to them. I think for every good one, there's going to be a bad one. The last couple of years they've done the 1923 versions, and those colors have been decent. This year had to be an off one. Um, and I say that for the Packers, but I know other teams have had some weird ones. I know Detroit's look more like Carolina's. Uh, the Texans looks a little bit off with their colors, but you know they pay other people to design them. I think if we had our way, we could design a decent uh, uniform for them. But it is what it is. So the other thing to do with merchandising, they've distributed or they've collabed with Disney, so each team has a Disney uh, representative, quote unquote, and the Green Bay Packers is of course Chewbacca. Now I've kind of made jokes about it. I've laughed about it. Chewie was naked on Hoth. Hoth is as cold as Green Bay in the middle of winter, so it kind of makes sense. Chewbacca. Plus, as you all know who have listened and followed through, I'm a Star Wars fan, so I am okay with Chewbacca being the representative in the Disneyverse for the Green Bay Packers. Those are the only two things I can think of off the top of my head. As of this recording, they are the last public practice has been done. It was the joint practice with the Arizona Cardinals. We had LaFleur Fest, J Loves, and the Meltons, however you want to break it down. It sounded like practices all went well. There were some chippiness here or there, but everything seemed to be decent. The big, big thoughts going through it is obviously Josh Sweat was activated off pup just before the practice. So there's rumors circulating all over the place. It is currently 1:22 in the AM of Thursday morning. And as of now, there has not been any more updates for any kind of possible thing. You know, again, this is one of those things that I'm not going to say, oh man, why the hell did they do that? Or anything like that. If they decide Josh Sweat is who they want to go after, let them go after him. Welcome to the team as long as he's not a cancer like a Martellus Bennett or a Jimmy Graham or, it doesn't fall flat on his face like a way back when Joe Johnston or whatever. You know, m- Great, wonderful. Uh, I do think cornerback is more of a need than edge rusher. I have a little bit more hopes for the edge rusher than I do for uh for cornerback. Sorry, I had kind of a brain fart for a minute because I'm reading Mike's list at the same time as I'm talking. Uh, but cornerback is really big. I mean, anybody who's listened to the show knows Mike and I both are not on the Nixon train. Uh, Carrington has been dealing with his injuries. That leaves a rookie Cisse, a rookie Domani Jackson, a returning from injury Kamal Hadden, and a Benjamin St. Juste that, is he more of a special teams? Do they think he's a starter? Whatever it is. You guys know we've talked about that. So before I get into the list, I do want to say, remember to like and subscribe, wherever you follow us, drop a follow, subscribe so you're always catching our every new episode, anything that we're doing. Schedule wise, now with the season coming into being, if that's how you want to put it, uh, you'll get 2 episodes a week. Mondays, dependent on whether or not they're playing a Monday night game, will be our game review, and Thursdays, depending on Thursday night games or whatever, will be our game previews. So you will have two games or 2 episodes per that. Maybe Mike and I or me and somebody else can jump on and do a post game live like we tried to do last year. So if that's stuff you guys want to see, let us know. But always, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anything like that, make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're dropping a like. Make sure you're rating us 5. Hell, if you just want to rate us 4 stars, that'd be all right. Just give us stars. Um, Let us know what you're doing. Drop us comments, drop us questions, whatever you want. Let us know how we're doing. Uh, and with that, let's go ahead and jump into our list. I'm going to go. So basically, since I'm doing this by myself, I'm going to be doing position by position, just hopefully so I can stretch this out to an actual episode. Uh, so starting with Mike's list, starting with, well, let's get the easy one out of the way. Obviously, punter is going to be Daniel Whelan. Obviously, kicker is Trace Mack. The one thing I do that it looks like both Mike and I share is that the long snapper is going to be Cal Adamitis, or however. I still haven't learned how to say his name. I do not think Orsic has returned to practice, so there could be an issue there where he just continues to stay on pup until he can no longer be on pup, or however they're going to do that. But if he's not fully back, if he's not practicing, obviously they're going to need a long snapper. Something that Mike and I talked about back when Anders Carlson was the kicker. You want to make sure you're uh how do I want to put it, or what's the word for it? you want to make sure the mechanics are all the same. So you want to make sure that the snapper is snapping the ball to the holder at the right times and the holder is holding the ball for the right times. And you want to make sure that all is smooth. Do you take the chance with Orsic when he comes back, or do you just stick with Cal Adamitis? Maybe IR, just IR for the rest of your Orsic, or come to an injury settlement or something. But so far, Adamitis has been solid. Long snappers should be considered kind of like offensive linemen. No news is good news. And if you're not hearing bad things about them, then don't change anything. So those three positions are the easy ones, so get those out of the way. Let's go ahead and jump in with quarterbacks. So obviously right now on roster is Jordan Love, Tyrod Taylor, and Kyle McCord. Mike is saying obviously Jordan Love is the starter. There's no doubts about that. He has Tyrod Taylor, but in parentheses, he does have replaced with waiver claim or trade, which is very big possibility. I have it as Kyle McCord. I know a lot of people are against it, but I have seen more out of Kyle McCord than I have seen out of Tyrod Taylor. Especially given that Tyrod is supposed to be this veteran presence and be this 16-year veteran or however long he's been in the league. And he's looked horrible. He's really looked horrible. So I just can't automatically give him the backup position. Now, obviously, we're hoping that Jordan Love doesn't get hurt, but history has told us that he has missed one or two games over his career starting. So if that is a trend or something that happens this year, you want somebody who's reliable. I went with McCord as the backup, but I do agree with Mike's take that I I I think this feels like the Michael Pratt, Sean Clifford year where they weren't happy with either of them at the end of when they were making the final 53. So they traded for Malik Willis. I have a feeling something like that is happening too. So really backup quarterback right now is not currently on the roster in my eyes. But going off of what we know and what's currently on the roster, I went with McCord over Tyrod Taylor. Running backs. This is another one that's a little bit iffy. Mike actually breaks it down to four running backs. He's got Josh Jacobs, Marshawn Lloyd, Chris Brooks, and Pierre Strong. I know Mike and I have talked about this on episodes that, it's a possibility that they have four wide receivers. I don't know, or I mean, four running backs. It's possible. I don't know. Again, I think Brooks played, but I'm not sure. I don't think it was much. I went with just three: Jacobs, Lloyd, and Strong. I'm not sure on it, but I think Pierre Strong is out of practice squad eligibility. So if they don't keep him on roster, I have a feeling he's gone no matter what. Uh, this is something that I'll get into a little bit more with wide receiver, but he obviously had that 68-yard kickoff return. Maybe he's got something in the tanks to be a returner. I think he was on the Patriots the same time as Akerd was with the Patriots, so maybe there's something there too. Chris Brooks has really, between injury and all the other things, has not really been producing much. I don't know if I trust him as a running as a lead back. If let's face it, Jacobs could be facing suspension. We don't know. That whole situation is really weird right now. Marshawn Lloyd, we're hoping out of hope that he is healthy. He'll stay healthy, but you got to figure he's going to be on some kind of pitch count just to make sure he's not overdoing it. So, with the way Mike's got it, it makes sense that they go with four. I just stayed with the three and had Pierre Strong as my guy as the third running back. Tight ends. I went with four tight ends because, and this is another one that Mike has written down as waiver claim trade target possible. He's only got two tight ends on the roster. Um, I have a feeling what's going to happen is I've got Tucker Kraft, Josh Wiley, Luke Musgrave, and Drake Dabney. I have a feeling they're going to put Musgrave since he hasn't practiced and he's been out, and I think he's still on the pup or whatever, the preseason pup or whatever it is. I have a feeling what they're going to do is they're going to put him on the initial 53 and then extend him into either the IR DTR or the in-season pup. I'm not sure which one, how that works, but I have a feeling that's how he's going to do it. So how they're going to do it. So he's going to have to make the initial 53-man roster. Wiley, uh, Mike has Kraft and Wiley. I stuck Dabney on there just because I just I wanted to put Yasmin, but because he showed a little bit more than what the other ones have. But I think what'll happen is he'll be able to slide through and be the IPP. Uh, Dabney, I think, will slot in and be a blocking type wide receiver that maybe can give you a little bit in the game. Josh Wiley is probably going to be that Luke Musgrave that they hope for that can provide a little bit of the blocking. But I do agree with Mike's sentiment that it's most likely going to be a trade or waiver claim that happens for tight end. Wide receiver. So with wide receiver, Mike has 6, I have 6. Obviously, we have the obvious ones: Golden, Reed, Watson, and most likely Savion Williams. I know some people are saying iffy, but I just don't see them cutting a third-round pick right away, just a year after drafting him. So, if they sit on Sean Ryan for that long, if they've stuck with other guys that long, then I don't see them uh, uh, getting rid of Savion right now. He also kept Bo Melton and Skyy Moore. Now, anybody who's listened to us for any reason knows that I am very much anti Skyy Moore at this point. I don't think he's going to give enough to automatically just hand him a roster spot. He hasn't been producing much in the offense, and okay, he had a couple okay punt returns and then one okay kick return, but in the same game, Pierre Strong out returned his return. So, with that being said, I really don't think Skyy Moore makes the roster. I have a feeling this is McCole Hardman all over again. Everybody had their hopes. Oh yeah, he's going to be he's going to fix a return game. He's going to fix a return game. Didn't even crack the 53-man roster. Now, did they bring him back on the practice squad? Sure, but I obviously have Watson Reed, Golden Williams, Bo Melton because they love Bo, and then I put Will Shepherd because I think Will Shepherd adds a little bit more to special teams than what people think, either as a gunner or possibility as a punt returner. But the kid is something special, I think, and especially for out of a fifth or sixth wide depth wise wide receiver. So I do think that's the way I'm going. Sturdivant, I could see slipping through and going to the practice squad, but he could be another one instead of Will Shepherd. I don't know, but I just think one of them make it over Skyy Moore because they produce more than Skyy Moore. Tackle. All right. Mike has these broken down as has them all together as just offensive line. I have them broken down as separate. So I'm going to go with Mike. He's got, of course, Morgan, Banks, Ryan, Bakabawele, Burton, Belton, Monk, John Williams, and Darian Kennard. I don't think we have any differences there outside of. Okay, there's one. He's got 9. I've got 10. So I've got Paco Bawele, Jordan Morgan, Anthony Belton, Darian Kennard for your tackles, Burton Banks, Williams, Dylan Wade for your guards, and then Ryan Monk for your center / guard, whatever. So we just have one different. I put Dylan Wade. Dylan Wade is if they keep 9, then obviously Wade is gone. But if they keep 10, I think Dylan Wade is the one that fits in. To be fair, I think I'm at 53, but I'm not 100% on that. 10, 15, 20, 25, 35, 39, 41, 45, 48, 50. Yeah, I'm at 53. So it'll be interesting to see where we kind of differ on positions, but no big surprises at offensive line. They're pretty set. I mean, I guess they could move on from Banks, but I don't think they could financially. Maybe they move Belton for somebody because they're not happy. I do know that when I was up there, I did hear him tell somebody he was getting tired of being moved around. Now, whether that was just, you know, talk or, frustration boiling, he didn't say it in a horrible way. He just said, "Oh man, I'm just getting tired of playing. 1 minute they have me at guard, 1 minute they have me at tackle." So, maybe they're not as set on him anymore, so they go ahead and move him. Darian Kennard, I think the reason why I have 10 over 9 is because I think Kennard is still hurt. So that could be another situation where they have him on the initial 53 and then they IR DTR him, designated to return if you don't know what DTR is. Uh, so I could see that happening. Uh, and then if that's the case and they still stick with the 10, maybe Travis Glover, maybe somebody like that. Or they could just stick with 9 like Mike has. So, moving to the defensive side of the ball, let's see, how does Mike have him broke down? He has defensive end and defensive tackle. I have it edge tackle, so it makes sense. Okay, so we each got 5. I don't think there's any real big difference between the two of them. No, so the 5, there's no real surprise here. LVN, Baron Sorrell, Colin Oliver, DDS, and Brenton Cox. Cox has looked solid again this year. Uh, I just caught that one. DDS, obviously, draft pick, not going to get rid of him right now. Colin Oliver, I think he's going to surprise some. Really, they're going to use him sporadically just because of his pure speed rush. Sorrell is definitely going to get the starting gig opposite LVN unless a trade happens and they get Sweat or somebody like that. Defensive tackle, this one we kind of differ on a little bit, I think. Yeah, because I've got 5, he's got 6. So Mike has Devontae Wyatt, Hargrave. I'm just double checking to see where we have Brinson, McClellan, Ford, Anthony. Okay, I think he means Anthony Campbell. Okay. And then Carl Brooks gets traded. I have Wyatt, Brinson, Anthony Campbell, Jonathan Ford, and Hargrave. Who do I have that? Oh, I don't have McClellan. So I got to kind of fix that. So I do agree with Mike. Um, so there's no difference really there either. Typing it into my thing. So that kind of fixes my thing over here. So Dylan Wade has to go bye-bye. So that fixes that. Luckily, Mike's list helps me remember other things. So yes, there will be 6 defensive tackles. Hargrave, the big free agent signing that they had. Devontae Wyatt, they just paid a bunch of money. Jonathan Ford is probably the only true nose tackle that they have at the moment. So, you got to go with there. McClellan, day 2 pick, not going to get rid of him that quick. Anthony Campbell has been playing outside of his mind. I think that makes him an automatic lock. And Brinson, while has continued to show flashes, but I don't think they can get rid of him just because of last year's draft capital. Linebacker, I have 5, and Mike has 5. So I have Zaire, Edge, Isaiah, Tyron, and Nick Neiman. Mike has Edge, Zaire, Tyron, McDuffie, and Neiman. So we agree with that. Neiman over Welch because I think Neiman is a little bit more athletic wise, and of course special teams. Tyron, I think this is probably going to be his last year to prove that he belongs on the roster because he's not showed a ton. Well, let's face it, he hasn't been getting a lot of playing time. So hopefully Gannon can get something out of him. So we'll see what happens there. This one here is the uh, roughest situation. Cornerback. I just talked about it a little bit earlier. Mike has 6. I have 6. There have been rumors that Keyshawn and Carrington have been getting trade interest. So there is a possibility that they're off the team. So to add our caveat that Mike and I did earlier, replacement via trade or waiver claim is possible. But with what's on the roster right now, this is what we both have. I don't see any differences. So Brandon Cisse, obviously, first pick of the draft for the Packers this year, has been playing lights out in the preseason and in practices. He's going to have his hiccups. There's no doubts about it. There's going to be hiccups because he is a first year player, but they're not going to give up on him that easy. St. Just, I think, is going to be the starter opposite of Cisse going into the season. Damani Jackson, because we haven't really seen a ton out of him because he's been hurt. But this year draft pick, they don't give up on those guys too easily. Kamal Hadden has been looking very good. They have been playing him in the slot since Javon Bullard has been hurt. But I think Hadden could play a little bit on the outside if need be too, but that would be great to have a backup slot. And then, of course, Nixon and Valentine. But again, caveat, they might not even be on the team just because of trades and whatever. Preferably not. Preferably not be on the team. Safety. I don't think there's any surprise here. Well, yeah. Mike has 5. I have 4. Um, I've got McKinney, Williams, Bullard, and Oladapo. I think Oladapo gives you enough on special teams, even though he's been having kind of a bit bad off season. But they have been playing him out of spot because of Bullard being hurt. So they've been trying to fit Oladapo uh, as their nickel slot uh, corner, and he just isn't that type of player. He is more of your deep safety. So I think he gets another year there. Mike throws on Mark Perry, which Perry has been playing good. I just don't know if he's been playing good enough to fit onto the roster with the other positions that are needing the depth. So really, there's not much between our two rosters that uh, differ. Um, so again, this is our or our disclaimer. You know, with everything that's going to be going on, there are going to be waiver claims, there are going to be trades, there are going to be other situations that happen. So, this is just kind of a crapshoot. whatever happens, happens. Hopefully, they don't make any stupid decisions. Uh, don't cut somebody. Let's say don't cut an Anthony Belton just because you're not happy with something this year because he's only a second-year player right now. Uh, but I don't see that happening, especially when we don't know the situation with Bako Bawele and how if he's going to be ready for week one. Uh, Outside of that, guys, I really don't have much more. My voice is kind of giving out, as you can kind of tell. So, again, like and subscribe, drop your thoughts, let us know what you think. I think they have to be down to 53 by Monday, and then that means Tuesday they would have to be, or Tuesday is when they can start filling the practice squad because of 24 hours after waiver claim or whatever. So, let us know what you think. Drop us a line. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. Uh, that way you're not missing out on any new episodes, any updates, anything like that. Please go over to Facebook, follow us over there. So when we do lives, we can go live on Facebook. We're on TikTok. We're on anywhere you can find us. Go over, like our stuff. Tell us how we're doing. I don't care. Say I like cookies. Whatever you got to do. Drop us some reviews. Packers football will be returning. Well, I mean, it's returned, but regular season is just right around the corner. It's what, a little over 2 weeks away. So we will be seeing live, real football being played pretty soon. Also, I do want to throw this out there. Remember, please, please, in this age of social media, don't go after any of these guys when they get cut. It is on social medias. It's going to happen. It'd be like them showing up at your job and laughing at you when you get fired. So do be a little bit kind. Wait at least a day before you start throwing stones at them. Because like I've said before, the reason why I like preseason is a lot of these guys are playing for their NFL lives. So they're going out there giving their all to be able to try to make an NFL roster, whether it be practice squad or 53. So do be kind for a little bit. Then we can laugh at them a week later or something like that. So with that being said, Ohana_Packers on Twitter, Ohana Packers Edition, Instagram, Facebook, uh, TikTok, YouTube. Go over, follow us. As Mike would say, go pack go and aloha.